Good morning, everyone. My name is Lorenza, and I'm here with Camila and Isabella to explain positive externalities of production and consumption and give you a little bit of an example of how they work through vaccines.
First of all, positive externalities of production exist when the production of a good or service creates an external benefit for a third party. Let's take vaccines as an example. Vaccines create positive production externalities because they not only benefit the person who is getting the vaccine, but also the society as a whole. Therefore, society would be better if more vaccines were produced. So, how do we illustrate this? In the graph, our demand curve represents both the marginal private benefit and the marginal social benefit. On the other hand, our supply curve only represents the marginal private cost. Below is the marginal social cost curve. The equilibrium lies at the intersection of MPB and MPC at QM and PM. However, the social optimum is in the intersection of MSC and MPB at QOpt and POpt. The vertical distance between MSC and MPC is the external benefit of each unit of the good.
Well, initially the equilibrium is at PM and QM, but due to the under-allocation of resources, the socially optimal quantity QOPT is not reached. This creates a welfare loss represented by the shaded area between the MSB and MSC curves, as the quantity produced is insufficient to maximize social welfare. And you may wonder why there is a welfare loss if the externality is positive. Well, it turns out that when the quantity produced is less than the optimal, society is missing out the additional benefits they could have obtained if the optimal quantity was produced. However, externalities can be corrected to increase production, causing society to recover the benefits of the shaded area. Well, to see it more clearly, in the market equilibrium PM and QM, the consumer surplus is the area A, the producer surplus is the area B and E, and the external profits are the C and F area, which are the difference between of MPC and MSC curves up to the point of production by the market. Total profits are therefore A, B, E, C, and F. Then in social optimum, the consumer surplus is A, B, C, and D, the producer surplus is E, F, and G, and the external profits are zero because the optimal point has been reached, which makes a total benefit of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Then, comparing the total benefits in the market equilibrium and in the social optimal, we observe that D plus G is the welfare loss in the equilibrium PM-QM.
There are two ways of correcting positive production externalities, and one of them is direct government provision. This is a solution presented by governments to provide the good or service, and this can be through engaging in research and development or directly training workers to benefit society. Government provision causes a downward shift in the supply curve from MPC to MSC, as we can see in the diagram shown in this presentation. As mentioned before, there are two ways of correcting positive production externalities. The second one is a subsidy. This is when the government provides a subsidy per unit of the good produced, and the MPC supply curve shifts downward, meaning the MSC supply curve. This results in quantity being produced at the optimum and price going down from PM to price optimum. Allocative inefficiency is corrected in both cases, achieving allocative efficiency.
As for the positive consumption externalities, now our supply curve represents both MPC and MSC because now the external benefits are provided by the consumers. And the demand curve is the MPB. For example, for vaccines, the market equilibrium would be the quantity of vaccines that are being produced and consumed in the free market at QM and PM. The MPB involves only the person that takes the vaccine, while the MSB also considers the external benefit, which could be the people around that benefit because they now have less chance of getting sick. The MSB is above the MPB, so it's greater, but the vertical distance between them, that is the external benefit. The socially optimal level is where the MPC equals the MSB, indicating the ideal quantity of vaccines that should be consumed to maximize overall welfare.
The welfare loss of positive consumption externalities is known as the difference between the MSB and the MSC curves for the amount of output that is underproduced according to the social optimum. And the welfare loss is the loss of the benefits that due to underproduction, and if the loss were corrected, society would produce at the optimum, and we would gain the benefits represented by the welfare loss. The welfare loss taking in account consumer and producer surplus. Okay, so in the market equilibrium, consumer surplus is equal to areas B and D, and producer surplus is only area G. And the external benefits are E&E, which are the difference between MSC and MSP. We could see that the social benefits equal consumer surplus plus producer surplus plus external benefits. At the social optimum, consumer surplus would now be A, B, and C, and producer surplus would be D, E, F, and G. And the external benefits are zero. We can see that at the social optimum, we gain the welfare loss, which is C and F, and that is what we lose when we produce at the market equilibrium.
Well, merit goods are goods or services that are desirable to consumers but which the market provides in insufficient quantities. And the reason for this underprovision are due to positive externalities, where these additional benefits are not adequately recognized in the market, so will be produced in smaller quantities that will be socially desirable, or when there are low income levels and poverty, where some consumers may desire certain goods or services but do not have sufficient economic resources to purchase them, or consumer ignorance, where if people are not informed about the benefits of these practices, for example, vaccination or annual health checkups, they may not demand enough of them. Well, to correct positive consumption externalities, government can use legislation and advertising. For example, making vaccines mandatory increase demand, moving the demand curve from D1 to D2 until the optimal social benefit level (ESM) is reached. This ensures that the right quantity of vaccines (QOPT) is produced and consumed. Advertising has similar effects since by promoting the benefits of the getting vaccinated, it also increases demand. In both cases, this increase in demand leads to a higher price, rising from PM to POPT, reflecting the social value gained.
Another way to correct positive consumption externalities is direct government provision. This is when governments provide goods and services that have positive production externalities to benefit society. The most important government provision can contain education and healthcare, and these two are considered as merit goods.
Subsidies are also very helpful to correct positive consumption externalities. If you lower the price of vaccines, its demand will increase, which helps the underconsumption level reach the socially optimal level. So basically, subsidies help close the gap between MPB and MSC so that society benefits as a whole. Governments can tackle positive consumption externalities through direct provisions, subsidies, legislation, and advertising. While effective, these methods face challenges, including funding limitations and political pressures, making it difficult to achieve optimal outcomes. Therefore, combining these strategies can yield better outcomes in promoting socially desirable consumption.
Public goods versus private goods. Okay, private goods have two characteristics. The first one is that they are rivalrous. This means that if one person consumes it, it reduces the availability for another person to consume it. This means that if you buy a private good, another person will not be able to have that specific item you bought. Like if you buy a computer, another person will not be able to buy that specific computer that you bought. And the second characteristic is that they are excludable because it is possible to exclude people from using this good. This is usually because these goods have a price, and all consumers might be willing but not able to buy these goods because of their income. Public goods are the opposite. They are non rivalrous, and one person consuming the good does not reduce the availability for someone else. And they are also non excludable, which means that no one can be excluded from using these goods. Public goods versus private goods in the case of our example. In the case of vaccines, they could be considered as public goods because of two reasons. The first one is because they are a part of healthcare and mostly provided by the government. And the second one is because vaccines can create a situation where once a significant part of a population is vaccinated, it becomes difficult to exclude others from being benefited by the immunity that arises. This reduces the propagation and effect of the disease.
Well, public goods are related to market failure because they are non-excludable. In other words, people cannot be prevented from using them even if they do not pay for them. This means that private firms have two incentives to produce public goods because they cannot charge a price to cover their costs. As a result, the market does not allocate resources to produce these goods, leading to an inefficient allocation of resources. In addition, public goods generate the free rider problem, where people benefit from good without contributing to its costs, which exacerbates the market failure by discouraging production by firms, by private firms.